Hey guys, Mr. James here from the Kenai Community Library coming at you with another Let's Draw. Now I am super excited about today's Let's Draw because we're going to be drawing superheroes. So it's going to be a superhero that you can customize and make it your own. Before we do, we have to learn proportions, so we're going to be talking about that first. So grab your pencils, your eraser, your sheet of paper, and let's get ready to draw. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started on how to design our own superhero. Now, to begin, I'm going to use something other than my typical Sharpies I use. I want to use some charcoal, or you could use a pencil at home. I'm using charcoal just so you guys can see it a little bit better at home. But let's quickly talk about proportions before we draw our superhero. So for proportions, which is a kind of a big word, we just want to make sure that everything works in relation to everything else, that our head is not too big for our body, that our shoulders are not too broad, that our arms are not too long, those kinds of things. So to do that, I'm going to use a little bit of charcoal here, and I had made some marks. I'm just going to make those a little bit darker. A mark here, and I just made these equal distance on my page. I already had them kind of lightly in place here. And so if we count our marks, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 marks. Now, the reason I have 7 marks is because you can draw someone and they will look pretty well proportioned if you're able to get them between 6 to 8 heads tall. So I want my head of the figure I'm drawing to be about this size, and that will put them about 7 heads tall if they're standing straight up. Now, for superheroes, I've been looking at Stan Lee's How to Draw Superheroes and other books here that we have at the library, and so I'm kind of basing this exercise a little bit on one of Stan Lee's drawings and from that Stan Lee's How to Draw Superheroes, and they indicate that maybe 9 to even 9.5 heads tall for a superhero because you're exaggerating those features, making them more muscular or taller and broader. But for our purposes, we want to kind of practice good proportion, realistic proportion, so we are going to make our figure 7 heads tall. So I'm going to go ahead and use a charcoal pencil here, and the first step I'm going to do, and this is a gestural kind of drawing, is I want to get my head in place. So it's going to be about right here, about right here. So something like this, and you can see that I am not concerned if it's a little bit of a scribble. I kind of like that scribble actually. Um, then we want to put the neck in place, and so we're going to make this a female character. I'm going to make the neck about like that. Now I want to go ahead and add my torso. So I'm going to kind of bring this over. I'm looking at my lines here. I know I want the bottom to be right in here, so I'm going to start to just put some shape to my figure, and I'm kind of implying this shape like as if they were maybe a wooden model. You might have seen artists use these kind of wooden models, so we're going to do something kind of like that. So I'm going to put maybe a little joint right here, maybe another little joint right here. Um, and so we're going to pretend that this figure is almost like a model or a wooden action figure kind of thing. So I'm just going to put the arms coming down like this, and I think my height is going to work. I'll put the waist coming down. We're going to go ahead and add maybe something along this line like this. Again, kind of a wooden type look. This arm we'll put going back and coming over, just to imply that that person has their arm kind of turned back. You can actually see as we're drawing this three-dimensional kind of gesture drawing that you can see what's going on with the position of the person, and that is the beauty of gesture drawing. So I'm going to bring the legs down. We'll bring this one in front of this one. So this one's coming down, and you can tell that this leg is a little bit in front of this leg. We'll add a small little kneecap here, a little kneecap here. Again, kind of working quick. And then we're just going to bring this leg down like this, and this one down like that. And I think we're about right where I need to be for proportions. So I'm bringing this over And I'll just bring this foot over like this and add a little foot here. Just keeping it pretty geometric, pretty straight, and I would say pretty quick. Those feet look a little big to me, so I'll try and shrink that just by doing that. And then maybe I'll finish this arm up. Maybe I'll put a little joint right here. I love that you can just kind of scribble. I messed up right here, so I just made it a little darker right here. And that's the beauty of drawing quick and gestural. Now I think the hand, when we put our hands to our side, they probably come all the way to here. So I'm going to bring that arm further and then add that hand. And maybe I'll just put just a little shape like this for the hand. It's completely fine. We're just doing it quick. So there is our gesture drawing. It only took a few seconds here, not too much time at all. You can imply which direction the eyes are looking just by dissecting that head and then even adding a couple little lines right here. Typically, whenever an artist is adding these lines, they're adding a line where the brow line is, or where the eyes, where the nose is, where the mouth would be. That's kind of the lines they're adding. So that is our general proportion study. Now let's move on to drawing a superhero in an action pose. All right, so now we're going to draw a superhero that's in some kind of dynamic position, and I want, again, to start. I'm going to use my pencils here, and I know that not everyone at home has charcoal pencils. I'm just using them because they show up a little bit darker for the video quality so that you guys can see what I'm doing there at home, but regular pencils actually work wonderfully. Step one, let's go ahead and kind of figure out where our image is going to be. I want my hero, my superhero, to be flying. And this is just going to be a generic superhero um, so that you guys can design your own character. So I'm going to keep mine very basic, and then you guys add your own emblem, add your own utility belt, make your cape its own unique cape. Maybe the mask or cowl is different, so you guys make it your own. Step one, though, is finding out where we want to be. If this is half my page and this is half, I'm going to try and put my face right in, and I'm just going to do that same kind of gesture drawing face like this. So you can see I am starting it with a upside down egg shape, not in the middle of the page, a little bit to the right and a little bit up. So I have my upside down egg shape. Now I'm just going to imply where the face is going to be looking by adding just a little mark. We used to do this in our Let's Draw, a little mark going down the middle, and maybe the brow line will be kind of in here, maybe the nose right here, maybe the mouth right here. So they're going to be kind of looking down. You can see now just by adding just those little lines that this figure is kind of looking this way. Okay, next let's add the arm. Now I am basing this on kind of an old retro-y Superman kind of Neil Adams-esque kind of drawing. I don't know if it's Neil Adams for sure, but it's that kind of look. So I want maybe right about halfway on this head, I want to add a little mark that comes down like this. Um, then I want to add the bicep because he's going to be flying. So I'm going to put this mark, another little curve like this. You guys can see that. And we'll add some details to this once we kind of figure out what we're drawing here. And we'll start to kind of block this in a little bit better. Next, let's go ahead and finish out this arm. So I'm going to put another mark going like this. It's almost like 3 bumps, but to try and get the bumps right, this is the deltoid, this is the bicep, this is the forearm. So let's see if we can get those right. And I'm going to slide over just a little bit right here, and this wrist is going to seem pretty thick, but remember, it's coming at you. So when things come at you, it does appear to be a little bit thick. So then I put a little curve right here. It's pretty fun drawing with this charcoal because it's just kind of glides a little bit on this paper. Now look where I put that. That mark goes straight across. Right about here is where this curve. A lot of curves, a little bit less straight lines today. but drawing a full figure is a challenge. Don't get frustrated with it. Let's see how well we do in the end. Now I'm going to put a little muscle here on the back, and then we'll start to be able to see that big superhero arm coming out like this. We'll finish that hand up, but not right now. Let's kind of get where the rest of the figure is going to go. I have some cape coming up over here, so I'm going to start the other deltoid. Deltoid is kind of like a fancy way of saying that muscle on the end by our shoulder. I'm going to put it right about here. So I have this arm. Now I'm going to add this deltoid like that. And this arm's going to be coming down this way. Here's that bicep and then that forearm. I'll make that bicep come all the way over there. And then the forearm comes this way. And again, we'll get those arms, those hands in place here in just a little bit. So here's another arm. We got our head. We have our arm. We're going to bring this over like this. So there's two arms. I think right now I'm pretty pleased with that. Let's add a little bit more and see where this goes. I'm going to bring a muscle out. I'll say like maybe about right here. This is the back lat muscle, and we're going to bring this over like this, because again, this figure is going to be flying. Lot of bumps right here. See if you can get those bumps right, and then we'll bring this. And the wonderful thing is that on these videos, you can pause it if you need to catch up here. So please feel free to do so. Next, let's go ahead and add a little implied muscle here, like that. And we're going to get to some of these muscles. There's a pectoral muscle here. So right now we've got our superhero really starting to look like they're flying, but we don't know what's going on with the legs. We don't quite know what's going on with the hands. So we'll get into that here too. So let's go ahead and finish this. I'm going to put a little edge here and a little edge here. Okay. So now let's go back before we finish these legs out and just kind of get an idea of what the hands are doing. I'm going to have this hand kind of like it's flying with it flat. So I'm going to just quickly, I put a little bump here, a straight line. I'm going to imply that that's a thumb. Like that. And I'm even going to just put another curve. Look at all these curves. And then just some straight lines here. One finger, two finger, three finger, and then that little pinky. And there's. So I kept that pretty straight, pretty simple. Here's the thumb. Here's the edge of the hand. Now these fingers are going to kind of have little implied like that. So it kind of looks like he's doing this kind of number with his hand, because he's going to be out there flying, and he needs to get his hand ready to fly. Now for this hand, we're going to make it more like a fist. So what I always do at home when I'm drawing hands, sometimes you can go to the mirror and take a look, but it always helps to actually make that hand yourself. Look at that hand, see if you can get that hand in the right shape before you draw it. That way also you know which side is my thumb on. I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, I used to draw a hand and then realize I put the thumb on the wrong side. So remember to check which side you're putting that thumb on. It gets a little confusing at times. So we're going to go ahead and just put a little, maybe I'm going to draw the thumb first right out here. And then I'll add my fist. And the fist is actually somewhat easy to draw. So I just put a few little marks right here. And now the fist is going to have a knuckle. Then I'm going to bring it down another knuckle, another knuckle, another knuckle. And that's that pinky there. And we'll put a little bit of hand like that. So I would say we could probably safe to just imply some of these fingers here, there, We're going to bring this one over like this, and this pinky is like this, but then we'll add a little bit of that kind of hand. So this is the actual kind of palm area of the hand, and then here's the thumb. So we kind of try to do it like that. And I like the look of that. I think that works. Okay, so we have two hands. We have the general idea of the face. Now let's add the legs. Now I want one leg. I was looking at this image of Superman, this kind of retro image of Superman, and I liked how one leg kind of came up. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to bring this over for the leg, and it's going to kind of pop up a little bit like so. Bring this over, and then this is the knee right here. Right in here is the knee. And then we want that calf muscle and the thigh muscle are pushed against each other, which kind of makes that calf muscle look more like this. So we have this area, and then it's going to have the little heel come out like this. And I'm just going to add that foot right here. So you can see our superhero starting to come to life. I don't know if you guys can see how this now resembles a bent leg. But I kind of enjoy that look. And remember, our feet would be pretty small in the end because they're further back. So this is a bent leg. Now we add the leg that's not bent. I'm going to bring it kind of around this leg right here. I'll put that kneecap down right about here. We talked about our figure being 7 heads tall. When they're coming at you or doing a different position, that does not apply. So it might help you with your proportions, but remember, as your figure changes, you have to adjust that idea. Okay, so here's the kneecap here, and then I'm going to have that muscle here, this calf. And I'm going to put it in front of this foot because this foot's going back. I'll bring this one here like so, and I'm just going to round that out with a pretty small foot because again, this is further in the distance. This ankle's a little thinner than that, so I just kind of darken that line a little bit. If you guys kind of make any mistakes at home, you can always use that eraser. Now remember, we're not carving in stone. That's what the erasers are for, and I think it's beneficial to use them. So I'm just going to put a little foot here implied. Okay, so there is our figure. Let's add some details in the middle, and then we can top it off with a cape and some details on the face. Um, so one detail, let's go ahead and kind of start to define a little bit of muscles here. Right here we have our bicep. Let's put this bicep in there. I'm just going to put a little mark like this and maybe add a little bit of lighting. I'm just going to put a little bit of some scribble right here, a little dark right here. We're trying to offer kind of a comic book kind of lighting. And so my 2 cents on that is that you want to have some good shadows, some good lights and darks, because I'm going to add another little mark here and kind of add almost like an armpit right here. Even superheroes have armpits. So it's because you need dramatic effect and you need some lights and darks. And I've heard it said that when you look at a comic book page, you almost want 50% light, 50% dark. If it's all light, if it's all line drawing, linear drawing, it's just not as dramatic. So if you're going for a dramatic look, it pays off to have a lot more darks and shadows. So I'm just going to add a couple of marks right here. So I have a mark right here of an armpit. I am going to bring just maybe a little bit of some lines right here to imply some muscles right here. Not much, just a little line here, a little line there. I think that works. Kind of darken some of these. That works for me. I like this line right here, so I'm just going to kind of darken that. I think we can go ahead and kind of add a little bit of ribs right here. So I'm going to put a little bumps just to imply some ribs. We're trying to make our heroes still look believable and realistic. So I'm going to make this edge kind of come down like this. And right here, I'm going to bring this over and make it ready for our abdominal muscles. So I'm going to bring this down. And the abdominals, since this figure is kind of leaned over, hunched over, I'm just going to add just a little shadow to imply abdominals or abs, people say. So we've got our abs, we've got our pectorals, our biceps in there. Let's add a little bit of shadow right here. We're going to assume our light source is coming from up top. Let's add a little bit of shadow down here. And add maybe just a little lines right here. We'll darken this edge like that. I do want to save a little bit of room for a cool belt. I'm just going to imply something. Superheroes always have cool belts. We'll go ahead and just kind of give this figure just an implied kind of pelvis with a little implied belt right here. And I think for our legs, I want to just enhance kind of some of these muscles by just adding some darks right here. I think I want to make this a little darker and then kind of make this dark with a little bit of marks for the knees like that. And then here, there's a nice shadow because this is all bent underneath. So this will have nice shadow here. Basing this on a nice retro drawing here. And I'm seeing how they did the shadow. Changed up the hands a little bit. There we go. And I'll bring that all the way down to the ankle of the foot. So there's that nice shadow. And then I think for the leg right here, we're just going to add a little bit of these muscles. So I'm just going to put a few little scratch marks here, here. And let's go ahead and bring this just a few marks like this. Keeping it pretty simple, like so. I think that works. Now to make it a nice costume, I'm going to go ahead and add maybe a line like this for my wrists. Maybe the boots. Superheroes have cool boots. I'm just going to maybe make it boots like this. There's a boot, a boot. We'll do a simple belt, kind of a nice generic simple belt, maybe a circle in the middle. Kind of fun working with charcoal instead of markers today because that does it lets me scribble over the top of things and that makes it a little bit easier for me. Okay, so we have our image and I left room for a cool symbol. And that is up to you guys, whatever you guys want to make that symbol. And we haven't added a cape yet. So for the face though, let's quickly add a face. I'm thinking I'm going to give this guy some kind of mask or a cool looking cowl. So I'm going to give a look like this. And I'm going to bring this over. Bring this down like so. Now, I did this because this is kind of like Batman's cowl. I like the look of that. I'm going to make a very serious kind of face. Some superheroes are serious. And so all I did for the mouth was a straight line almost, pretty much a straight line, little edges to it, and then it's all in that little shadow underneath like that. So if you look closely at that, just having that little shadow instantly made this pop out. I'm going to make his chin pretty strong chin. We're going to give our superhero a pretty strong chin there. Okay, so that is the bottom part. Now let's draw the eyes. I'm going to make my nose come up a little bit right here. And I'm just going to offer maybe those, we've talked about this before in my class, but when you add those eyebrows that come up, that helps. So I'm going to do that on this side, eyebrows that come up, kind of giving them almost kind of this Batman-y kind of look. And I'm just going to imply nice little, I'm just almost just putting little marks right here to imply the eyes. And I might put a little mark coming up right here. I'll do the same thing on this side. Because he's kind of squinting his eyes, giving a little kind of Batman, Superman look. It makes it real simple to draw the eyes because all I did was put a brow and then a little mark underneath for the eyes. Pretty simple to do eyes like that. Now let's just shape this face a little bit. I kind of like how the head looks. This kind of goes back. It looks like a big forehead, but that's because he's leaning forward. And then we'll just kind of shape this and make this come down. So there's our superhero face. Now let's add the cape. I am going to have a cape coming up this way. Maybe we'll add some kind of neck right here. And then right here, I'm going to have this cape kind of coming over. That's why I kind of kept that light right there. And I'm going to have my cape maybe coming down like this. I'll put the other part of the cape coming over, maybe a big dynamic kind of flare. Feel free if you want your cape to have a little bit more flow to it or spikes on the bottom or ripped edges, you guys are welcome to change up the look of the cape. I'm just going to kind of sketch this out and give it a little bit of flow like so. Maybe on this piece I'll offer a little bit right here. Okay, so there's our flow. And on this side, maybe we're going to have it kind of swoop and maybe come up, kind of offer that little fold that some capes might have, a little fold like this. So if this goes up, maybe I'll bring that through and have it come over like so. That's kind of a nice dramatic cape. So this comes over. And, you know, I think we can add a little, I'm going to add a little bit of marks here. And we can certainly add some shadow. I'll just take my big piece of charcoal here and add some shadow underneath here. Again, remember, we're kind of talking about lights and darks. This shadow will really help pop our superhero. So I'm going to add a shadow along this edge and then maybe just kind of have it come over and a shadow, maybe all the way to here. See how that shadow really popped the figure? And that's kind of more of that comic book kind of image like that. We'll do the same thing on this side because, boy, it really helps. Just seeing that, I'm kind of shocked at how much of a difference it made. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side and maybe have it, I'll have it kind of come through his hand right here and add all this shadow. It really highlights him, offers nice contrast. Contrast is when you have a lot of variety in your lights and your darks. You've probably seen that on editing programs. If you guys ever look at edit, let's say adjust the contrast. Well, we're adjusting our contrast by adding some darks in here. Maybe a little bit more coming down this way. I can see a little bit more shadow over here. ended up filling this whole side because I think it just looked a little better. That really popped the hand out a little bit more too. Didn't want to lose that hand. This side I think is okay like this. So we're just going to add a few little marks. Maybe a little bit of shadow. All right, so we have just finished our superhero drawing that is generic, which means you guys get to add your own logo right here. You guys get to add your own utility belt. If you want to add a cityscape or background, you guys can add that. If you want to change up the boots, if you want to change up the face, the mask, you can add different things sticking out the side there. Whatever you want to do, you now have a pretty nice template of a superhero to do. Now remember, we started it pretty gesturally with shapes and curves, and we ended it more with a little bit of tonal value, but not much. Nothing compared to trying to draw something realistic. We really work on gradation and tonal values, but with comic book imagery like these superheroes, we're really simplifying it to a black and white. Now you can certainly smear if you wanted to certain areas, but for today, I'm going to leave it like this. I kind of enjoy the black and white simple look. So to finish it off, we're just going to sign our piece, and I'm going to sign mine down here. We always try and be somewhat discreet about that. And I hope you guys have a super day in drawing your superhero. You guys take care, and look forward to seeing what you guys drew. Take care.